All right, folks, welcome once again to our recruiting show. Mike Frank here with my good buddy Christian McCollum. And if you haven't been following, we've been kind of breaking down a lot of the 2025 class and going position by position and talking about the various potential targets. Some guys are committed, some guys are not. But these are the guys that Notre Dame seems to be targeting the most at this point. It's not a complete, inclusive list. It's not everybody that they're recruiting, but these are the guys that Chris and I, after doing some talking and discussing and research, these are the guys we think that Notre Dame has the best shot at, that they're the most interested in right now. And obviously, as we've pointed out a number of times on the show, once these guys go out and actually start recruiting, this could very well change. We didn't know who Logan Thomas was at this time last year. There are a lot of guys, Cole Mullins, we didn't know who he was at this time last year. There's a lot of guys that will be in this class that we probably haven't previewed or even talked about at this point. And so don't expect this to be the only list or this is the end all be all of everything. But as it is right now, this is the guys we're going to be focusing on and who Notre Dame is focusing on. So also, when we're talking about all these different guys, what we're trying to do is talk about, is this group of players, are they going to help Notre Dame improve their situation? Meaning, are they going to be better players? Are they better prospects than what they currently have on the roster right now? So we're going to start with Cree Thomas, one of Notre Dame's first commitments. He's committed as a corner. Chris is going to start playing some video here. And I think it's interesting, Chris, because he plays a lot of safety in his high school film. And you see some good top end speed there, the ability to pull away from some people, that type of thing. I have a feeling in the end, he's probably going to be a safety or maybe even like a slot corner type of player. He's just got really good instincts as far as being able to find the ball and everything. You just don't see a lot of coverage of him kind of man-on-man press coverage in his film. We just don't see enough of it to say, oh, this guy's definitely a corner. And so that gives me a little pause in that, I don't know whether he can play corner or not because we just don't see enough of it. But we see, obviously, pretty good athlete here, running away from people, doing a good job. I would like to see just a little bit more explosion and fluidity in his hips. If you're saying, okay, this guy's going to be a Ben Morrison type of player, but he certainly has enough athleticism to play a slot corner position. Certainly can play safety as well. Could even, play boundary as well. Good size at 6. What is he? 6'1", 170. I think he is, Chris. Is that right?
Maybe a tick shorter than that.
Okay. Yeah, they have him listed at 6'1", 170. He is at least 6 foot. You can tell, very long arms and athletic guy. Going to have to fill out, not the thickest guy at this point, but certainly a solid tackler and a guy who plays violent. And so I think it's a good pickup. I don't know if you're talking comparison, who he would really compare to, but love the ability, as you just saw there, to get up and go get the football, has the ability to leap. Is he kind of an X-Watts type of player? Yeah, I could see that. I would see him being maybe that type of player. I think he's kind of comparable to that. Is he? I think he could be a guy that would play your deep safety role as well. Somebody who's out there just kind of patrolling center field. I could see him playing that role as well. I think if he's going to be more of a box safety, probably going to have to get a little bit thicker and a little bit bigger for that to happen. But I kind of see those roles for him. And again, he may very well be a corner. We just don't see enough of him lining up as a corner, kind of in a press man situation, or even just playing a little bit off. We see him playing safety so much, it's just hard to really know. All right, let's move on. I'm sorry, Chris. What do we know about Cree Thomas and Notre Dame's thoughts about that?
We talked to Notre Dame. They make it clear they're recruiting him as a cornerback. But, as you dig a little deeper and talk to other people, I talked to his high school coach at Brophy Prep, Jason Jewell. I've talked to Jamie about it. And a lot of that, they aligned with what you were saying, Mike. Obviously, his coach noted how much they play him at safety there. And Notre Dame does like that versatility. So I think you're on the right track there where he's very likely could end up playing safety. But if you talk to guys at Notre Dame right now, they're making clear they're recruiting him as a corner.
Yeah, and you can see, I mean, he has the ability to be a solid player at corner. There's no question about it. It's just I don't see enough film to say, yeah, this guy's going to be a great corner. Where if you're looking at some of the other past corners, that like a Carson Hobbs, there's a guy who plays corner, and you see it all the time. So you get a better understanding of what he can do as a corner. All right, let's move on to Dallas Golden. Now this is junior film of Dallas Golden, and I really like this player. This kid is one heck of an athlete. Plays a lot of wildcat quarterback, plays some safety, plays some corner. This guy's just one heck of an athlete. And you'll see here when he plays wildcat, you'll see his ability to run and turn left and right, but also explode and pull away from people. And you can see his top end speed here, running away from everybody. He's kind of one of those guys that, again, could possibly play a slot corner, could also play corner, as you see here, kind of more of a press situation. How many times have we seen Ben Morrison make that play? Big, long arms. And I really like this guy's athleticism. He could play so many different positions for you. Could possibly play wide receiver, certainly kick and punt returner for sure. And he's an explosive player. When the ball is in his hands, he makes things happen. So I just think that here you see him playing some wide receiver, which is exciting. This is a guy who can play a lot of different things for you, and you definitely just want to take him no matter what. So I think Notre Dame is recruiting. Again, nice hips there. Shows the ability to make somebody move or miss. And that's so much of it in playing corner. You have to be able to turn. You have to have that fluidity in your hips to be able to turn and run with anybody. And that's why I like seeing some of this offensive film here, because you see a lot of that. And Chris, what can you tell us about Dallas Golden and Notre Dame's thoughts about him?
Well, I'll tell you this. I think I've been doing this for a long time, maybe too long. Maybe I'm dating myself, but I remember a number 3 for Berkeley Prep back in the day who did a lot of different things. Nelson Aguilar, who was a top target for Notre Dame. And I mean, I don't know. The comparisons might be a little bit different, but in terms of versatility, like you said, Mike, this kid is special.
Yeah.
He's already been to Notre Dame multiple times. He was at Notre Dame for the spring game. And then he came back for USC. Coming into that trip at USC, people were telling me, hey, don't sleep on Notre Dame here. They have a really, really good chance. And some people even said they thought Notre Dame led going into that visit. I talked to Dallas. I talked to some people close to him coming into the visit. And I said, all right, I can see why they feel that way. And then coming out of the visit, Notre Dame only helped themselves. So Notre Dame was feeling very, very good coming out of the visit. And I tend to agree with them about where they felt. Now, obviously, that was a couple months ago. And this is a kid that's going to be all over the place. I mean, he's going to get, a lot of attention from everybody. I think Florida State and Florida seem to think like, they think they'll be in it at some point, but I think it's more of just like an in-state thing. Like, obviously he's a priority for those guys. Clemson as well, but Notre Dame is one that is always consistently mentioned. And I understand why after talking to both Dallas and his and the people close to him. So really, really, bright kid. Not a big social media guy, doesn't stay on social media. Obviously has a lot of interest in Notre Dame, and I think they're going to be in it to the end, and it wouldn't shock me if they won this.
When you watch him again, they just showed his film there at the last couple plays there. Again, he's playing quarterback, and just the explosion that this guy has. This guy could be a tremendous corner for sure, and very excited about his potential and his future. So love seeing the Notre Dame's in the race here. All right, let's load up my favorite guy. I mean, I just love Devin Williams. I'm telling you, this guy, he's going to be a first-round pick. And the thing is, he could be a first-round pick as a corner and as a wide receiver. Just tremendous ability to jump, mirror. It's rare you see guys who can run and just mirror guys as well as he can at this level. And just tremendous player. And I think he has more upside than even, say, a Ben Morrison because I think he's faster and more explosive. Now, that doesn't mean he has Ben Morrison's instincts. Let's be clear here. One of the things that make Ben Morrison such a great player is he's such an instinctual player there. But then right there, perfect play. just the mirroring and his ability to just run with anybody and anticipate. He does it again here. Anticipate where the ball's going. I mean, you just can't complete a ball on this guy the way he plays. And I just love everything about it. Another great coverage right here. Goes up, knocks the ball away. Just a tremendous, tremendous talent. I sure hope Notre Dame can land him, because I think he's one of those guys that takes you from, okay, we're pretty good at the secondary to, tell you what, you bring your best guy and we're going to put him on him and he ain't going to catch nothing all day. And that's the kind of guy I think that this guy's he has that kind of potential, but not just as a corner. I mean, this guy is an elite receiver too. Very long arms, goes up and snatches the ball, can play, a lot of different positions, could play slot, could play outside as well. I just think that this guy's a really, really talented player. And I'd say probably my favorite player out of everybody they're recruiting. Just explosive. Just can run by anybody. And I just love the way he plays. They got to get him. Somehow they got to get him, Chris. What do you know?
When I put that offensive play, I know last time we talked about him, we didn't have as many defensive clips, so we got some more on there. But I left that one offensive play they just ran in. I mean, when you're jogging at the 30, going in, you got some serious speed.
Oh, yeah.
So,
yeah.
Obviously, he camped at Notre Dame in the summer, and then he was back again in the fall. I think I said this before, but I felt like Notre Dame had a better chance than even they did coming out of that visit. Now, it was kind of a whirlwind visit. Him and his family drove halfway across the country to get there, so they got there kind of late. They weren't able to partake in all the activities. I think that was part of the reason why immediately after the visit, Notre Dame sources were saying they thought the visit just went okay. But talking to Devin and some of the people close to him on the way back, they were really excited. I don't think Devin and them came in with this to the visit with these expectations that they were going to spend all this time with the coaching staff and the coaches were going to be able to love them up and show them exactly how important they were, because they understood what their itinerary looked like. So I think Notre Dame might have been like, man, we didn't get a chance to do X, Y, and Z, but that wasn't a negative for Devin. So I'd expect him to come back. He's a very, very bright kid, would definitely fit Notre Dame. And the interest is obviously serious. Same time, all the reasons you mentioned, Mike, everyone's coming after him.
Oh, absolutely.
Alabama, he's been to Alabama 5 times this year. Was at Alabama last month. They are definitely going to be in the race, and they're not going to let a kid like this go away easy. So this, even though he's got some genuine interest in Notre Dame, he's got genuine interest in a lot of other schools. And if you talk the guys on this board, I think Notre Dame has a chance with Devin Williams. But if you talk to people close to Notre Dame, they would probably put the likelihood of him a peg below guys like Dallas Golden and Mark Zackery, who we'll talk about in a minute.
All right. Yeah. And look, I honestly think this guy's one of the, I've yet to see another corner better than him this year. But he's also not 6'1" like you'd like. He's not the tallest guy. But boy, he makes up for it. He can get up and he can go make plays. And this guy's a tremendous talent. I just really hope Notre Dame has a chance to land him. All right. Let's move on to Mark Zackery. Interesting. We got some film. This is only sophomore film. And folks, this is only 6 games of sophomore film. I just realized, but we've mentioned this before. This guy's a bigger corner than say a Devin Williams, thicker. But that's good. That's what you want, some guys who got some size, can play physical. This guy is a really talented player, and you can see him right there. Hey, dude, that guy's a lot, taller, bigger, but he's playing physical at the line of scrimmage, and that's what you want to see with a guy like this. And I think he could play a lot of different positions for Notre Dame as far as boundary. He could play field because I think he's fast enough to play field too. But I think ultimately you're looking at a boundary corner here, but a guy who's very, very physical, very plus athlete for a boundary corner. I just love this guy. I really hope that they land him as well. This is a type of guy, because he's local, that you want to be in on, and you want to make sure that you can land and secure a guy like this. So, Chris, was he hurt last year? Is that why he only played 6 games?
I believe so, but I'm not 100% sure there.
Okay. I just know we only have the 6 games of film. He also played some receiver as well, and you can see his athleticism as well playing that. What are your thoughts here on Mark Zackery?
So he's a kid who really saw his recruitment explode right around the first of the year. So about a year ago, almost a year ago this time, and really just had those kind of mid-level offers, mid-level Power 5 offers, and then come January, it just exploded with all the big boys. He's visited Notre Dame multiple times. He was back for the Ohio State game, and coming out of that visit, Notre Dame felt like they might have passed Ohio State for him. Which is a good sign. And the further and further this goes along, Notre Dame seems to feel more and more confident about, where they stand with him. Now, Ohio State's going to be a factor. Michigan and Cincinnati, they're going to be in the race, but Ohio State's going to be the one that, it seems this could easily be a Notre Dame Ohio State battle until the end. And talking to Mark, I've talked to him multiple times, and he likes a lot about what Notre Dame has to say and what Notre Dame can offer him. He seems like he'd be a Notre Dame fit. And I know we've talked about this before. His father's one of the assistant coaches at Ben Davis. And obviously being in the Midwest, staying in the Midwest would allow, his family to come up and see his games and stuff like that. I think that's important. But wouldn't be a shock to see this one come down to Notre Dame and Ohio State in the end.
Yeah, it's interesting because I think, as a coach, there's two things there. I think if you feel like your son's going to be coached well, you're going to want the Notre Dame situation, I think, as a coach, because you've been through this enough and that a lot of these guys don't make it in the NFL and they don't have long careers in the NFL. And so you got to have an education. So I actually think that'll be in Notre Dame's favor because, I think Ohio State certainly has done a good job with DBs in the NFL. But I think Notre Dame is also, because of Mike Mickens, is starting to get a reputation as, hey, we develop corners really well here too. And by the way, we have the education. So I think that's going to be a plus for Notre Dame that they have a father here who's a coach and really understands what's going on. So, when you look at it, Chris, we already got Cree Thomas in the mix. I think you got to land at least two out of Golden, Williams, and Zackery. If they do, I think that's a good situation at corner. I'm going to feel real good about that based off of who they took last year, who's also on campus right now. But yeah, if you could take Cree Thomas and then, one of or two of Golden, Williams, and Zackery, I think you're in really good shape at corner, and you're improving from where you're at. And so I think that's important. So hopefully they can do that. All right, let's move on to safety. And first guy up is JaDon Blair. And it's interesting because I'm sorry, you had Ivan up first, but that's all right. I'm just going in the order you gave me here, Chris. Sorry.
That's all right.
All right. So here's the interesting thing. JaDon Blair's film is probably about 8 minutes long from his junior year, and they break it down in a lot of different ways. One is kind of tackling and run support. One is coverage. Others kind of in the box safety. One thing is certain, this kid is a very long, aggressive athlete who can play, and his best days are ahead of him. He is going to fill out. They list him at 6'4". I'd say he's at least 6'3". This guy, very long arms. So much film, Chris, of him in run support, and he's very good in run support. I'd like to see him explode a little bit more in run support, but I think he's just kind of dissecting and you see the same thing in Ethan Long, who we'll get to in a minute, where they don't necessarily look as athletic sometimes, but I think it's because they're actually trying to figure out where the ball is and they don't want to overplay the play. And I think that's what you see with JaDon Blair. And what you don't see is, I don't know how much of the coverage stuff you got here, Chris, but or if you got any, because it's way later in the film. But when you see him playing coverage, he definitely is a guy who can run and make a lot of plays in coverage as well. So you're looking at a Kyle Hamilton type of player here. Is he quite as athletic? I don't know, but I think he's going to fill out and become that type of player when it's all said and done. And that's why you're seeing so many teams. He started out not having a lot of offers, but now you're starting to see some of the big dogs come in. And I think once they start to get out and go check out some film and talk to the coach about this guy's going to get a ton of offers. So right now, I think Notre Dame's in a really good position for him. But don't kid yourself. There's going to be a lot of schools that are going to come after him. What do we know about JaDon?
Yeah, you talked about it. You know how sometimes, Mike, these long guys, they deceptively fast. It's like they don't look fast, but they're eating up. He doesn't. Still looks fast, even though he's long.
Yeah.
So he's obviously a top guy, like you said. Notre Dame was just down to see him this week. They're out on the road. They were down to see him, and they've done a tremendous job of letting him know how badly they want him. And that matters a great deal to him. He talked to me about that a lot earlier this week. He's already visited Notre Dame twice, and he was super impressed both times. And they came in with very high expectations both times. They came in first time, they're like, man, this is Notre Dame. There's nothing like it. We're expecting to be blown away. And then they left and they were blown away. Then it was like, oh, we're coming for the Ohio State game. This is going to be the game of the year. Notre Dame, there's nothing else like it. We're expecting a ton. And their expectations were exceeded. So that's really, really important for him. And like I said, the other part is the fact that Notre Dame's made it clear, listen, we want you. You're a high priority for us. He really, really, finds that important to him. He visited Duke and Penn State and Florida State this fall, in addition to Notre Dame. He doesn't have any other visits set yet for the winter. I wouldn't be surprised if he didn't really get back on the road for real until the spring. He mentioned, wanting to see schools like Michigan, Michigan State, USC, Florida, and Wisconsin. But, Notre Dame was one, I think that's one that he's really, really serious about getting back to. Some of the other schools he's already visited, he didn't really mention. And he seemed like these schools are like schools he's just interested in learning more about. He's already knows a ton about Notre Dame. So I almost feel like Notre Dame has set the bar here. And at this point, if they can just do a good job of, continuing doing what they're doing, it wouldn't surprise me at all if he ended up with Notre Dame.
In the end, it won't surprise me if he's a top 100 player. I really think that he's got that kind of length and speed. And, again, you don't really see the kind of top end speed until you see the coverage plays later in his film. We can't put all the film on here because, there's just no way to fit all the film. And it's very difficult to kind of piece, X play versus Y, then the next, find another one. So I encourage people, if you're interested in JaDon, to go and watch later in the film, his high school huddle film. And you'll see this guy's a really rangy player, can really run. And this guy, I really think is going to be at the end, he's going to be a big time player for Notre Dame I don't know about Notre Dame, but he's going to be a big time player. And I think he'll be a top 100 player when it's all said and done. You just don't get guys that move like him, that have that kind of size, that also have the athleticism and can cover. All right, let's move on to Ethan Long. All right. So this guy, it's interesting, and I mentioned him when I was talking about some JaDon and some other guys. It's interesting because when you watch him, he just doesn't look quite like the athlete of some of the others. Doesn't look like he's really, really explosive. But then you watch him come down on kickoffs and things like that, and you see him just kind of run and very violent player, but have the ability to, obviously there. You got to be able to move to make that play. So it's kind of deceptive when you watch his film, Chris, because you see him and you're like, is he really that fast? But then you kind of realize what he's doing. He's just trying to dissect the play and not overplay the play. And there's so much film of him making plays that you realize that he's a very nice fill there, dissecting the play, knowing where it's going here. Now, if you read this, obviously, the play looked like it was going way south, but he stayed home where he's supposed to be, ends up making a tackle and strips the ball. It just seems like this guy's a very smart player who just kind of, watches what's in front of him. And here, it doesn't look explosive, but I think he's looking at the traffic, trying to figure out how to get here. But watch this. Boom. I mean, big speed to get over there and block that kick. And, so it's kind of a mixed bag of, is a guy fast enough? Is he not? But again, I just think that he's just dissecting what is going on, trusting his eyes, and then making the play when he sees what he sees. And again, here's what he does. So, again, I think some people look and say, okay, well, here's a guy from, Connecticut, is he really athletic? Doesn't play the best competition, blah, blah, blah. But he just continues to make play after play. And there's a whole bunch of film of him doing it where you say, okay, I can see why Notre Dame's, excited about this guy. What do you know about him?
Yeah, Mike, I think you nailed it. So I've been down to see Ethan a couple of times. I went to one of his preseason practices, and I went to that game against Avon Old Farms, which I mentioned in the past. Is this game right here, one of the most miserable football experiences of my life. But you nailed it. He's really, really patient as a player. He understands what he's doing, and it is, I guess you could say, it's kind of a knock on the level of competition. Like, he's a superior athlete to everyone he's going to go up against in a matchup in this league. And he knows that. And rather than try to show off and anything like that, he's just playing within the system that they've asked him to make plays. And that's exactly what he's doing. And once he decides to go, you can see that athleticism take over, whether it's chasing a guy down, making a big hit. And the big hits you see him making in person, he's pretty thin. But when he makes a hit, you can almost feel it. I mean, he forces fumbles. He's a dynamic playmaker who just really, really understands what he's doing. Obviously, he's teammates with Matty Augustine, the 2025 offensive lineman that Notre Dame is also in on. They're extremely close. They actually live together right now, and they've both been to Notre Dame multiple times. I think Notre Dame's been the leader here ever since they offered back in the spring. Nothing's happened to make me change that opinion. He has a cousin who was a walk-on receiver who was a captain at Notre Dame several years back, and that's just a cousin that is almost a role model for Ethan, or is a role model for Ethan. So Notre Dame's always held a special place in his heart. I thought there was a chance Ethan Long was going to commit to Notre Dame following the Ohio State visit. He hasn't told me this, but I feel like he almost was considering it. So nothing's really changed at Penn State, Michigan, Ohio State. Those schools are all chasing him as well. But, if you ask me, I think Notre Dame's the leader at this point. He's in a similar boat with Matty Augustine. They both play hoops for Brunswick, and I don't know how much they're going to hit the road this winter, but I expect them to get back on the road this spring by spring at least. And, I'd be surprised if Notre Dame didn't land him in the end.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see because how many safeties are they going to take, and who are they going to be interested in when it's all said and done. Let's pull up Trey McNutt again. This is another one of my very favorite players in the class. Wow, this guy is one heck of an athlete, Chris. I mean, this guy is impressive. He's got to be one of the best players in the whole Midwest, and I just love everything about him. He plays wide receiver. Plays, could play a lot of things, but I think he's athletic enough that he could be a slot corner. I really do. This guy just has the ability to turn, change, and is explosive when he's playing the football. So I love this guy's talent. I know he's been to Notre Dame. I know a lot of people think it's going to be an Ohio State situation, and maybe it will be in the end. But when you watch his film, there's so much of film of him. Offense, defense, but when you watch, even look at that dude. I mean, that's a play there where a lot of guys, that's an 8-yard run, but he is so cat quick that it becomes a 2-yard run. And that's a difference between great players and good players. And this guy has the ability to be a great player. Again, chasing that down there. Again, a lot of those types of runs end up being 8-9-yard runs. And with him back there, it's a 2-3-yard run. Getting through, finding the trash there, getting through the trash and finding the ball carrier. That's what you want to see. There's a lot of stuff in coverage we don't really get a chance to see, that obviously because the film is so long that you would love to see, but I'm telling you, this guy is a tremendous player. And even as a wide receiver, this guy could be, he could easily be a wide receiver and play at Notre Dame, play at Ohio State as well. He's that good of an athlete. And I really hope they land this guy in the class because he gives you so much versatility. Could play deep safety, can play box because he's a guy, finds his way, can play in the box, is physical, but also has the athleticism to line up in the slot corner position and play corner as well. I think he's one of the best players in the Midwest by far, and love this guy. What's your thoughts on him? I know he's been to Notre Dame a couple times.
Yeah, so Ohio kid, mom went to Ohio State. So I think a lot of people, myself included, just assumed he might be a layup for the Buckeyes. Spoke to his mom prior to his most recent visit to Notre Dame, and was told that is unequivocally not the case. She couldn't care less if he goes to Ohio State or goes elsewhere. So I found that interesting. And when I heard Notre Dame was in the top two, I assumed it meant Notre Dame and Ohio State were the top two. Later found out from some other sources that it might be Notre Dame and Michigan that are the top two. So I found that pretty impressive. He just took in his first Michigan game ever for the Ohio State game a couple weeks ago and left really impressed. But as you said, he's been to Notre Dame multiple times. The people around him, his mom included, you can tell that what Notre Dame can offer is what they're looking for. Now, that doesn't mean the kid's going to go to Notre Dame just because of that, but it means that his interest in Notre Dame is truly genuine. And like I said, it's not just going to be Ohio State's not just going to win this one by default by any means. So he's really in no rush. He's been to Notre Dame multiple times. I expect him to return in the future for an official visit. And Notre Dame, even if whether you want to say it's Notre Dame and Michigan or Notre Dame and Ohio State or Michigan or Ohio State, however you want to chop it up, right now I'd be surprised if Notre Dame wasn't in that top three, and I think all three are pretty close.
This guy's a really good player, and I encourage folks, go watch his entire film. And you only get to see some good plays here. But if you watch the entire film, you're going to be like, wow, this guy is a tremendous talent, because he really is one of my favorite players in the class as well. All right, let's move on to Notre Dame commitment, Ivan Taylor. Chris, I love this guy. I think Notre Dame got one hell of a steal with this guy. I really do. He's not as athletic as Trey McNutt. He's just not. But he's not far off. And this dude is one heck of a player against the run, but also against the pass. This guy, I mean, there is some film, and I know you're not going to have it because it's later down. I want everybody to write it down. About 5.35, 5 minutes, 35 seconds into his junior film. Tremendous recognition you'll see there. At 6:06, they're playing red zone D. He sheds 2 blocks to make the tackle. At 6:41, also kind of red zone D, and you watch him just dissect the play. He has elite instincts as a run defender, but also the athleticism to play in coverage. You watch him too, Chris. When he's on kickoff, man, this guy wants to hurt people. It wants to really hurt people. You can tell has the mentality of an NFL player. Every single play that you watch on film, he's fired up about. He's excited when he makes a play, and just that competitiveness is what you're looking for. But the thing that really stands out to me is just what a great run defender he is, and how quickly he can diagnose a play, get through the trash, and make plays in the run game. Again, very good in the pass coverage too. I don't want to make it sound like he can't play coverage, because he definitely can. But when you watch him, I've watched a lot of safety play. Very rarely do you see somebody who has the instincts that this guy does. I know Notre Dame was very, very excited about him, but I think this is the play here, isn't it? Where he just absolutely destroys the 2 guys here. Watch this.
Yep.
Boom. And then boom. That you want to see that, man. You want to see guys that have that kind of attitude. And that right here, great play. That is a fantastic play from a safety. That's what you want to see. And, people, you look at number 0 there and you think X Watts. This guy, I think, can be easily as good, if not better, than X Watts, especially as a run defender. This guy is going to be a tackling machine when he gets to Notre Dame. And I'm very, very excited about his potential. What do you know about Ivan Taylor and Notre Dame's excitement about him?
Yeah, so we can add we'll add links to all these guys' full highlight film in the description, so you guys can go ahead and click those right below. But yeah, Mike, like you said, I think I told you before, some people at Notre Dame had him as the number 1 safety in the country. Not just
would not surprise me. Would not
just their number 1 target, not just their guys of the guys they can get number 1 guy. No, number 1 safety in the country, in their opinion. So, and the other thing is, Mike, he is an impressive enormously impressive young man off the field. Obviously, the son of Ike Taylor, longtime Steelers defensive back. So you see a lot of these, instincts, and you can attribute a lot to them. I'm told his mother is a fantastic individual, and he almost has the best of both of his parents in him. And if you talk to people around him, it's going to take you a lot before you start talking to them, before they start talking about football. They talk about him being a top 1% individual they've ever been around. He's just a unique human being. We talked about this on the lead up to his announcement. He doesn't care about glitz and glam, or he doesn't care about the recruiting process, any of the flashy things. He didn't care about any of that. He really just cared about relationships. And Notre Dame realized that, and they prioritized that, and they showed him how true and how meaningful the relationships he would have at Notre Dame, and that's what helped them win in the end of the day. But he's a workout guy. They work out at 4:30 every morning, and I'm told that's not a former NFL football player saying, "Come on, son, you got to go. This is what we have to do." I'm told that is Ivan 100%. Everything that Ivan wants to do, he has to do. It's not dad waking him up at 4:30 to work out. He's a kid that didn't even really want to make visits during his football season because he wanted the focus to be on his own season. He was encouraged that he needed to go make these visits. And I'm not saying, miss games or miss practice. He'd be upset about missing a film session. And I'm not going to take that visit. And you have to be told, no, listen, Ivan, you got to go figure this out for your future. So just a completely unique individual, totally positive. Notre Dame, they hit a home run on this one every way you look at it.
I couldn't agree more. And I highly encourage you. It's a long film, and it's his junior film. I just highly encourage you to watch it, because I've watched a lot of safeties. I really have in my time. And I just don't remember seeing a guy who is so good at dissecting where the ball is and just finding it and just closing quickly and just shutting it down. He's an eraser, especially in the run game. You don't want to run outside on this guy, because you're just not going to get anywhere. He just has that ability to find the football, but more importantly, get through guards trying to hit him, get through wide receivers trying to hit him, tight ends, anybody. He just can get small, get to the ball carrier, and just crush. And I love defense, as you know, Chris, and I love guys who play like this. And if you can get 11 of these guys on your field at the same time, you're going to be a dang good football team. And I'm really excited about him. I would love, boy, if you could throw a McNutt, Ivan Taylor, JaDon Blair situation, man, Notre Dame has never had that kind of a safety class. It has never been there. And it would not surprise me. And I know this is a big stretch to say because of how talented Kyle Hamilton is. I actually think that Taylor may be a more impactful player at Notre Dame. He may not have the picks that Hamilton had, but when you talk about just being an eraser and a great run defender and a box player, you're not going to find anybody who's going to play that as well as I think this guy's going to. So love Ivan Taylor. I think he's one of the best safeties they've gotten in a very, very long time. And I really hope that they can add, McNutt, and of course JaDon Blair. If they could add all three of those guys, what a class that would be. And then of course, you got Cree Thomas, and then maybe a Devin Williams, Mark Zackery. I'll sign up for that, or a Dallas Golden, Mark Zackery. I'll sign up for that. So I'm excited about the potential of these guys, Chris. I think if they can if they get the guys in this class from these names, they're going to be in really good shape moving forward where they're at with defensive back, and very excited about it.
Yeah, and like you said, boards are likely to expand. This is not an exhaustive list, but at the same time, there's a reason that these guys are the guys they're focusing on right now. And it's not just because they're not wish list guys. They're not, man, if we could get Dallas Golden, they're in the running for him. They're in the running for JaDon Blair, Mark Zackery, all those guys. So this is not just like a pie in the sky list. This is a true, mutual interest list, and it wouldn't stun me. It's more likely than not that the board will expand, but they're in the running for each and every one of these guys.
All right, folks, that's going to be it for this week. Hope you liked the recruiting show. Next week, Chris and I will be on talking some more guys, but this time we're going to start going back and looking at some of the 2024 kids and hopefully their senior film. So that'll be the thing that Chris and I will be looking for. I don't know if we'll go maybe Aeneas Williams. Chris and I need to talk about it. I think that's the first guy we talked about possibly getting on the show. Or actually focusing on. So be looking for that next week. Thanks for watching the show, and looking forward to breaking down some 2024 film of some of Notre Dame's future signees that'll be signing here in a couple weeks. Thanks for watching.